It's postseason time, and welcome to the Grizzlies playoff preview show presented by the Gold Strike Casino Resort. It is the new gold standard in gaming and hospitality. We welcome you to this Grizzlies playoff preview as the Grizzlies get set to take on the Los Angeles Lakers. Game 1 coming Sunday at 2 o'clock at FedEx Forum. I am not by myself, however. I want to welcome in those joining me today, including the television voice of your Memphis Grizzlies, Pete Pranica, is with us. Hello, Pete. How are you, sir?
I am fine, Fish. I'm glad that we started the show, as ye always do, single on Fish.
That's the way that we're supposed to start shows. You're exactly right. Also here is the television analyst for your Memphis Grizzlies, the great Brevin Knight. Hello, Brevin.
How you doing there, Roberto?
I'm doing well, man. Good to see you. John Roser, also in the house. He's a host of Grizzlies Live Postgame on the Grizzlies Radio Network as well. Thank you, Roser. Thank you, Roser, for being here today as well. All right, I'm going to start with this. Brevin, I'll start with you. I say postseason Memphis Grizzlies basketball. What comes to mind?
The fans, the atmosphere. I think that's first and foremost that comes to me, and then after that is just some really good basketball. I expect there to be competitiveness at the highest level. And these guys, more times than not, when the chips seem like they're down or things aren't going their way, somehow they find a way to make it right. And so throughout these playoffs, I'm expecting for no matter what the circumstances are, what they may be, that we're still going to see the best Memphis Grizzlies efforts that we have seen all season. And because of it, wins will be the byproduct.
Pete, Memphis playoff basketball.
A full building, an incredibly loud building, and your heart beating at about 120 beats per minute because every possession is so incredibly critical in playoff basketball. And you die 1,000 deaths during every playoff game because every possession is so important. And the emotionality that is going to be present in that building with this series and the opportunity to play the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, no disrespect to previous playoff opponents, but this is the Lakers. And there's going to be a lot of emotion in that building. Hopefully not a lot of purple and gold jerseys, but there will be a lot of emotion.
I'm with y'all, and I think it probably sounds a little cliche, but to me, when I looked at the weather this week, and it's supposed to be hot. I mean, hot. All of a sudden, it's getting hot, right? I always feel like that first playoff game, you got the air conditioning on in the car, and you get in the arena, and it's a little warm when you're walking through the garage, because you just got out of the shower, and you're getting ready for the game. And then once you walk in the arena, it's that cold chill because the AC's on and no one's in the building yet, so you feel every bit of that air condition. And you look out, and all the seats are covered in yellow, and it's that moment that I walk into the building and see that and feel that you're like, all right, it's playoff time. Let's go. Let's do this.
Like the kids say, it just hits different.
It just hits different. And it's going to start this Sunday. Let's take a look at the playoff schedule. It'll start Sunday for the Memphis Grizzlies. Game 1, 2 o'clock. And then a couple of days off before Game 2 on Wednesday at 6:30. Couple of days off. And then Saturday at 9. And then it'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. If it goes all the way to Game 7. A lot of talk about the schedule. Some people saying, well, having the rest early with those 2 days off between Games 1 and 2 and Games 2 and 3 could benefit a team like the Lakers, who have been playing everybody and playing hard down the stretch. They had the play-in game as well. I think the schedule, when you look at it as a whole, I think the tail end benefits the Grizzlies. If you got to go Games 5, 6, and 7, if it goes that far, Memphis to Los Angeles to Memphis, I think the Grizzlies would be the team to benefit from that.
I see. You
I'm trying to pick out things on the schedule, man.
Look, man, you turn to the wrong person. The schedule is what the schedule is. The schedule has been this way for the last couple of years since they've gone to the 7-game format. There's going to be 2 games in between early. There's going to be 1 game in between late. Whichever team, as is during the season, can continue to get themselves ready to play the next day, we'll be ready to play in those basketball games. It's the Lakers have enough recovery tools at their disposal so that the older players are ready to play every other day. The Grizzlies, younger, their youth and exuberance will have them ready to play every day. For me, a little bit, the 2 days in between is like, shucks, I'm ready to play again. The 2 days, that's not a norm for the NBA season. The norm is you're playing at least every other day, and then when you get to 2 days, it's like, all right, cool, we had 2 days. So it is, they'll play as they play. But for you, I love to play along with it. It'll be better for the Grizzlies at the end if they said every other day with cross-country trips.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's going to be better for Brevin's golf game with the extra days in between. So that works. I don't know that it really favors anybody. Rest is rest. Yeah, the Lakers are older. The Grizzlies are younger. I think the big thing is how you deal with the 4-hour flight back and forth, particularly when you get late in the series. If this goes 7 and you're ping-ponging back and forth, that travel could wear on you.
Yeah, absolutely, and it benefits the Grizzlies. So
there it is.
So it all works
You're
out
right.
with the schedule. So that's good. Grizzlies this season, another amazing regular season, a season in which they won 50 games. And you look at some of the numbers from the Grizzlies this year. Brevin, when you look at the success that they had this year, what's a common ingredient when this team is successful?
The defensive effort, and with that defensive effort, it is the deflections. When they are getting the deflections on the defensive side and combining that with defensive rebounds off of the initial miss, then they're out and running. Fast break numbers are there. Points in the paint numbers are there. And then they shoot a higher three-point percentage because everything is in rhythm. And if they're able to produce that, which is all in their control, again, which will be in this series, which is getting after it defensively, then I don't worry about the offensive end. It's a matter of playing defense without fouling, only limiting the Lakers to one shot, and then from there, having the pace of the game being up and down. And I think that will benefit them so that they get some free throws on their end, but it gives them the rhythm that they'll love to use, and it's what gets the building really going.
What did you feel stood out when you were hammer, nail, coffining teams? what was a common thread?
I think it was a lot of guys participating. One night it's Luke Kennard. One night it's Desmond Bane. Another night it's John Morant. One night it's Jaren Jackson Jr. There are so many guys that can have exceptional games, and I think they need to play together. Most successful home court team in the NBA this year, best in franchise history. But to Brevin's, and you look at the fast break points per game, that's a franchise record too. This team has to play at pace. Now, the Lakers like to play quickly, but the problem is they also live at the free throw line. So if you can keep them off the free throw line and keep the game flowing, it's going to be to the Grizzlies' advantage. If you're fouling all the time and the Lakers are shooting an inordinate amount of free throws, it breaks up the flow of the game, and it's going to be hard for the Grizzlies to have an offensive rhythm. When the Grizzlies are at their best, when they were winning games, they were playing at pace, not necessarily all fast break basketball, but just getting into their half-court sets with a crispness, an execution, and a speed, even within the half court, that kept the defense on their heels.
When you look at the Grizzlies last year, or even the year prior, the big knock on the Grizzlies, last year they shocked everybody in the league and finished with the 2 seed, and the big knock is similar to what we're seeing with Sacramento this year. Haven't been there before. They don't have the experience of being there before. Well, now they have experience of being somewhere, and 3 straight, now a 4th straight year of being there. They had the play-in against Portland in the bubble. Then you had the Utah Jazz 1 round there. Mm-hmm. Last year you go 2 rounds, and obviously this year you want to even build on that more. What does the experience that they have as a young team? They have experience. How big of a factor is that for the Grizzlies?
It's huge because it's a young veteran team. And that sounds crazy because, well, how can you be a veteran young? Because they've had so many experience from such a young age. Right from the beginning, they've been immersed in these type high-stake games, and they figured out ways of how to win. And then they figured out how to be good through a regular season, under duress, still have the finishing that they want. And so now it is just continue to do what they've already done. It doesn't mean they have to become a different team, as some teams have to change when they move. They don't have to change at all because they've been down this road. And hopefully the scars that they have from the past, why they lost, those things, you're able to hearken back to what happened here and look forward and say, well, how do we do better? And I think so that all of those experiences that they went through, those teams that are young, usually you're saying, you just go out there, this is how it's going to be, and you're just doing it from the experience of someone else. But they'll do it from the experience themselves. The other thing is they've done it together. There aren't a lot of there's no new pieces except for Luke Kennard, the one new piece That's a huge part of it. Roddy's been there all season, but the other guys have gone through this fire together. And so I think that also gives them an advantage of being a young team, but still being a veteran of this playoff stuff.
It's the thing that Taylor Jenkins has been talking about. What gets you through this? Togetherness. And because you haven't had major roster turnover, which the Lakers have had, by the way, I think that will suit the Grizzlies in the postseason because they've had basically the same cast of characters, with the exception of Luke Kennard, who's become a very key piece for this team.
I thought the first year with the bubble, it was like, all right, well, we're playing for something. We're playing a big game. Good experience to play a big game. It was just one game. The Utah series, I thought going into the next season, I thought what you take from that is playoff experience, one. Two, how important the regular season is to make sure we're not in that position. I thought the Grizzlies took great advantage of that the next year, finishing with the 2 seed, regular season importance. I think where they faltered was in the second round of the playoffs. Health obviously was an issue.
Yes.
I think the thing you learned from last year was what does it take to get to this point and beyond? And I think that could be a huge factor for the Grizzlies this year.
Well, and the other thing in that is that they played against a team that has been there and done that in the Golden State Warriors last year.
Right.
And they saw what it takes, even if a young team gets a win, even if they feel like they have the chance, and you may be being outplayed, they still find a way to win. And that's what Memphis did what the growth was in round one. Minnesota really outplayed the Grizzlies in that series. Mm-hmm. The Grizzlies just played well enough to win the games. That's what the Golden State Warriors did in round two. And so now I think those are the really big things that you learn from year to year for them.
How to close games.
Yes.
Because Minnesota clearly last year did not know how to close games.
Right.
Nor still.
Nor still, yes. Too soon?
No, not at all. One of those Grizzlies veterans, since he's been in the league, he has played in big games at the end of the season. That, of course, is the Grizzlies point guard, Ja Morant. Ja has played in big games going back, NCAA tournament even, but since he's been in the league, he had the play-in game that first year, and now has been in the playoffs the last couple of years, played 8 games after his suspension, scored 20 or more 3 times in those 8 games, did have 36 against the Clippers, but those aren't Ja typical numbers. Are we concerned at all about Ja?
No. Not one bit.
Not one bit.
This is what he's made for this.
I'm with you.
These are the moments that he's made for. And the reason why, even when I do interviews or we talk about this, he's the one person that we don't really talk at length about. He's the one person you don't have to worry about. I don't care what's happened since he's come back, where he's been. When the ball is thrown up on Sunday afternoon, I promise you are going to see the best of Ja Morant, because this is why he's in the NBA. This is his chance to be on this stage playing against the Los Angeles Lakers on ABC to again show everybody who he is on the basketball court. I promise you, he has been waiting for this opportunity.
All players, you and I have had this conversation, have to turn on that playoff mode. It's different. It's just a different time. The greats can take it to another level. Forget about what's happened these last 82 games. It starts now.
And I think that his mindset is one of how the greats think about the game. We've seen him take over basketball games, and I think what we're going to see is him taking over basketball games again, with the opportunity, though, of those others who have played well to still influence the basketball game. But when it's needed, I always say this, all those other guys, they're going to be great to help the Grizzlies win. But at the end of the day, you always need that guy. And we have been blessed to have that guy. And I think this is nothing but a great moment for him to show it.
It's a great opportunity for him. I don't think he has to be 45 points per game job.
Right.
I think the sweet spot, Brevin, I think the sweet spot for him is like maybe 30, 8 assists, 6 or 7 rebounds, and keep the turnovers low. And I think that is the number where the Grizzlies can be the most successful, because he has pieces now with Luke Kennard and Desmond Bane and with Jaren Jackson Jr. The way Jaren played through the month of March and April, you now have a legit unicorn weapon for the Memphis Grizzlies. So Ja does not have to shoulder the entire burden. He doesn't have to put up 28 points in a quarter, as he did against the Lakers at FedEx Forum. He's got a lot of help, and I think the way that he balances his game, I know that when the lights come on, he is going to be beyond ready to play. how he manages his game, his offense with the rest of the team, I think that's going to be the biggest piece of this.
I'm going to say this, though.
Yeah.
I think the Grizzlies will need a 45-point game from them.
Probably at least
point
one.
during this series. Now, it's not something that they'll need every night. I think that's the difference. They don't need it every night for them to win a basketball game. But there will be a game where they need him to score 45 in order for them to win. And the good thing is, it's nice to have a guy that can do it.
Yeah.
That's what you just want someone that can do it. And it's nice to have someone that can, but he doesn't have to.
Well, and it's also nice to know come playoff time, you need a bucket, whether the offense is slowing down in the fourth quarter and you can't run anything, or the other team's on a nice little run and you need somebody to end that run. You got a bucket getter. You got a guy who can go get you one, create one, and make it happen for you. So nice to have that luxury. Ja against the Lakers this year, 30.5 points per game. He played in 2 games. 9 assists per game. Did have a triple-double out of those 2 games. So pretty good success against the Los Angeles Lakers for Ja Morant. And while we say everything's fine and everything's great and Ja's going to be great, and we know how big of a deal Ja is for this team, there's one guy who's going to get all the conversation about how big he is for this team, and that's Jaren Jackson Jr. Because when Jaren is on the floor, obviously the Grizzlies are a much better basketball team than when he's off the floor.
Yeah, you can make an argument that he might be the Grizzlies' MVP. I don't think there should be any argument that he's the Defensive Player of the Year. I know a lot of the national media are not giving him his flowers, and that's just criminal. But what he's been able to do defensively, Brevin, has been fantastic. But in March and April, when there were opportunities, he was more physical, he was more aggressive, and that might have been the dunk of the season. But more physical, more aggressive, more assertive. And when you're playoff basketball against Anthony Davis and this Lakers bunch, you have to be assertive and decisive, or otherwise you're going to be in trouble.
But
Brevin's pausing.
Because here's the thing. The only thing I think at this point that separates Jaren from those other upper echelon is just mindset. That thing, it doesn't have the skill. Can he work better on some of his skill set? Yes. But what he's able to do on the floor on both ends, if he had that click, that same, like we've seen it click different this year than last year. I think as we see next year, it clicks another gear, it'll be like totally unstoppable. And so I think that right now is the only thing that we may see it in this playoff series where it's like, no, he just goes and just dominates every single night, give me the ball every single possession. That's how. And I think for him though, you are exactly right. Is that we don't have anyone that does what he does. There's very few people in the league that does what he does. And so he is as important as anyone to this team's success. And if he stays out of foul trouble, it is all the worse for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, that to me is going to be the biggest thing, him staying out of foul difficulty against Anthony Davis and the Lakers. I go back to the way Jaren played in Game 6 last year against Minnesota.
Yes.
You need that. You need Game 6 Jaren throughout this entire series.
Jaren, you were talking about how great he's been here as of late. The last 4 games, 31 points, 7 boards, 19 field goal attempts per game, 9 blocks total, and 2 steals as well. He scored 30 or more 6 times this season. 5 of them have come in the last 11 games for the Grizzlies. And against this Lakers team this year, Jaren played in all 3 games, averaged 18 points, 7 boards, 3.3 blocks, a steal, and 5 fouls. Had 5 fouls in all 3 games. Didn't foul out of any of them, but had 5 fouls in all 3. We already talked about it. Davis gets a lot of foul calls. He does. He throws his body around. LeBron's going to get foul calls. The Lakers get foul calls. The Lakers as a team get foul calls. The numbers just speak that. It bears out. How big of a concern is it with Jaren going into this series?
It's a concern for me for Jaren and Dylan. It goes for both of them because the way, number one, Dylan's with how the intensity that he plays with, how physical he plays the game, and then the people that he's going to be defending flail with how they play the game. So that's a concern. For Jaren, for me, the most important person is Xavier Tillman. As much as we can play Xavier on Anthony Davis without having fouls and can push him out, really not be a problem, then that limits as much as Jaren has to play Anthony Davis one-on-one and those. But the other thing for Jaren is he has to be smart about second side shot blocking, which is sometimes I can get to it, sometimes I can't get to it. And if I can't get to it, then let's just take it out and we throw it. Or let me just get there, be big, and see if they miss, and we go from there. You just don't want them to be the aggressiveness to be in jeopardy, but you don't want him to stop being and playing and being the person that he is. So I think for him, the biggest concern for me is Xavier Tillman's importance to this team. Of course, what he's done, but how long he can defend Anthony Davis, especially if they start with their normal big lineup.
And Jaren thinking, I picked up a foul. All right, I can't pick up a second right away.
Right.
He's got to be more cognizant of where he is foul-wise in a game and how aggressive he can be defensively, because without him, this would be a very, very rough series.
Yeah, it's going to be a series, of course, with the Los Angeles Lakers. When you think of the Los Angeles Lakers, at least today's Los Angeles Lakers, there are only two players that you really think of. That being LeBron James and Anthony Davis. AD had 24 and 15 against Minnesota in the play-in. LeBron 30, 10, and 6. Last 5 games, LeBron's averaging 30.4 points per game. Last 8, AD's gone for 26 and 13 and a half. Health is always an issue with these two, but they seem fine right now, and the Lakers are playing their best basketball.
They are playing their best basketball, and they are very scary. I really thought, though, watching the play-in game, I thought the Lakers played as if they thought that game was just going to fall in their laps, which eventually it did. Thank you, Minnesota.
Yeah.
The big piece with LeBron now, legitimate three-point threat on a consistent basis. So you've got to guard him everywhere. What has hurt the Grizzlies throughout the season is dribble penetration. LeBron gets the rebound, he's coming downhill. And that's something the Grizzlies are going to have to deal with. And, you know, as far as Anthony Davis, I think you have to be physical with him. He can go into funks. If you match his level and exceed his level of physicality, I think that you can have success against him. But you also have to be careful defending without fouling, because, what was it, 2 years ago at Staples Center, what do you have, like 20 free throws in the first quarter or something, something crazy like that? So those are the things that are going to be most crucial to deal with. But another guy that you look at as an X factor, Dennis Schroeder. It doesn't matter what uniform he's worn, he's always hurt the Grizzlies. And he was a huge factor against Minnesota in that playing game.
Well, for LeBron and AD, I think Petey hit it on the head. First and foremost is how long can you keep them off of the free throw line? That's the biggest thing. And then how many different matchups can the Grizzlies throw at them to differ? And then with AD, when do you double team? At what point in the game? Do they ever? And so I think rotations will have to be there, and they're going to have to force other guys to make some shots. But it's always a task when you go up and play against two of the best players in the game. It's just about trying to make it as easy, as hard on them as possible. But Petey said, I think Schroeder will be as important a piece to all of this as anyone.
This is a Grizzlies playoff preview show presented by Gold Strike Casino Resort. It is the new gold standard in gaming and hospitality. And right now we are going to head down to the Gold Strike and welcome Jarvis Greer from Grizz Beat. And also he's with Michael Wallace, both from Grind City Media. They're at the Gold Strike, and they got whatever might be some X factors in this series. Guys, take it away.
Hey, thanks, guys. I'm Jarvis Greer, along with the great Michael Wallace. We're inside the sportsbook at the Gold Strike Casino Resort in Tunica, Mississippi. And, you know, this is a great matchup between the Grizzlies and the Lakers. First round, Sunday, the first game, 2 o'clock tip, and it's going to be wild inside FedEx Forum. Of course, we all know the big matchups with LeBron and Dylan and everybody else, but some of the ancillary ones are the ones that really may be the key to the series.
No question about it. We call them the X factors. I mean, we're not creating anything new here, but guys that will fly a little bit under the national radar who can have a huge impact on this series. And we're going to give you a couple of them right here. I'm going to start with Xavier Tillman. We'll start with the Grizzlies. Xavier Tillman needs to be available. He needs to be tough. He needs to be rugged. He needs to be consistent. He needs to just pretty much be everything he's been since Steven Adams left the lineup back in January. And he started more than 20 games this season, a career high. Xavier Tillman is going to have to be a rim protector. He's going to have to be tough in the box. He's going to have to be able to defend Anthony Davis and buy Jaren Jackson Jr. as many minutes as possible, not having to take on that primary defensive assignment. So if Xavier Tillman can make himself available, particularly with the Grizzlies short on available bigs, that's going to be a key X factor for the Grizzlies. There's another Grizzlies X factor you want to tell them about.
Oh, yeah. My X factor is a player that the Grizzlies picked up at the trade deadline. Of course, I'm talking about Luke Kennard, shooting at about a 49% clip since he has been a member of the Grizzlies. He is first in the NBA in three-point percentage, and when he's knocking them down, the building just rocks, and it also helps the Grizzlies to victory. With Kennard on one side, and then you got Desmond Bane playing on the other, they are two of the best three-point shooters in the league, in the association. When you got those guys cooking, it'll be difficult for any team, including the Lakers, to try to take Memphis down, especially at home.
But you know what, Jarvis? The Grizzlies are going to also have to deal with the Lakers X factors.
Yes,
and it starts with, to me, a guy by the name of Dennis Schroeder. We've seen the Lakers, what they look like before the trade deadline. We've seen them after the trade deadline. One constant has been Dennis Schroeder and his ability to disrupt the Memphis Grizzlies. He's averaging 15 points, 9 assists, and 6 boards in the 3 games against the Grizzlies. He basically single-handedly took over one of those victories the Lakers had in LA. So you got to be able to contain Dennis Schroeder and not let him be the escape valve for the Lakers offense. Who do you see from the Lakers?
Well, one guy that is kind of flying under the radar in this series for Los Angeles in this series against Memphis, I think, is Austin Reeves, the guard. He can be sneaky athletic. He gets in the way a lot as far as trying to get passes through the paint. Man, he's got quick enough hands to get there. He's sneaky athletic. He can dunk the ball on you if you let him get a run to the rack. Plus, he is a really good shooter. And he's someone, if LeBron, you double LeBron, boom, he could be standing out there on the wing, and it's a pick your poison kind of thing. You think, Austin Reeves can play, and the Grizzlies are going to definitely have to keep an eye on him to try and win this series.
So as you've heard, there's X factors all over this series. Which set of X factors is going to tip the balance in their team's favor? We'll see. We can't wait for Sunday for this series to get started. Now, back to the studio for you guys.
Austin Reeves. He's going to be the guy, isn't he?
He's
going to be the guy.
He's one of those guys.
I'm going to want somebody to just go up and give him too little. That's what I'm going to want by the end of this series. X factors, fellas. Pete, start with you. Who's your X factor?
I think it's going to be Dylan the Villain. Okay?
I like it.
We know that he'll be an outstanding perimeter defender. Will probably take a lot of time guarding LeBron James. But can he score and shoot the way he did in March and April? Doesn't have to be a 30-point guy, but stay on the floor, defend well, give you a couple of threes, give you 15, 16 points a game. I think that can be a big X factor for the Grizzlies.
BK?
I'm going to go quickly. I got 2, really. And they can always be the same. Santi Aldama and David Roddy. Both of them will have major impact on the game. Both of them will have to be versatile in their positions that they play, and they're going to have to be extremely confident, play the way that they played during the regular season. But the Grizzlies, when they go to their bench, they are going to have to continue to still produce in those basketball games to limit or at least give the starters time to rest. No Steven Adams, no Brandon Clark. Those 2 guys are going to be huge in terms of the bigs on the floor.
Well, I was going to look at the bench as well. Somebody from the bench. I won't even say a person. Somebody. Now, I think Luke Kennard, we're at the point now where, hey, we're going to need those 15 every single night from you. But from Roddy, Santi, Conchar, Tyus, you can't have those box scores that say 3, 3, 3, and 3. Somebody's got to pick it up. Somebody's got to get some scoring coming from the bench. And then the other one for me doesn't have anything to do with a player. To me, it's this team has got to figure out a way, and they've got to figure it out. They got to win on the road. Yeah. I know they have home court advantage, but you can't expect to win every single home game. You just can't. And if you do, you don't want to keep putting yourself in a position where you're up 2 and then series is tied, and then you have to rely on a game 7. They're going to have to win on the road. They're going to have to figure it out, and they're going to have to prove that they can do it. And somewhere they really struggled all season with. So that's to me one of the X factors as well. Let's check out that schedule one more time before we get out of here. Just to remind everybody, Game 1 Sunday, 2 o'clock at FedEx Forum. Wednesday at 6:30, also at FedEx Forum. And then we move to Los Angeles Saturday at 9 p.m., Monday to be determined. Wednesday back at FedEx Forum, Friday back in LA, Sunday back at FedEx Forum. If this series does go 7 games, Game 1 though Sunday at 2 o'clock. Anybody want to give a pick for the series?
I'm going Grizzlies.
I mean, I think we'd all go Grizzlies. It'd be pretty weird if I went to either one of you and you said the Lakers.
Yeah. But I would not be surprised if we're witnessing a Game 7 in FedEx Forum.
Right.
I think this series could be that even.
Grizzlies.
All right.
Number of games,
Very emphatic.
doesn't matter.
They're going to win 4.
They'll win 4 of them. I'm going to go Grizzlies in 5.
Whoa.
Good night, everybody.
Fischer's out.
Actually, that is going to do it for us. But I am going Grizzlies in 5. This has been the Grizzlies Playoff Preview Show presented by Gold Strike Casino Resort, the new gold standard in gaming and hospitality. Thank you, BK. Thank you, Pete, Roser. Appreciate it. Scott, Robbie, Jacob. I'm Fish. Thanks for joining us. Go Grizz! Playoffs are coming. They start on Sunday, 2 o'clock at FedEx Forum. Hope you're loud, and hope you bring your blue and wave your towel, and go Grizz.